Hi, Dr. Ray. I love your show.
Let me show you what it looks like to be a holy person, and maybe you'll want to be holy like me.
You just patted yourself on the back.
You seem like an honest guy.
But you're a psychologist. Do you have some advice?
I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
You're my second favorite Italian person.
I think you have a way of making people feel relaxed.
She needs to feel the consequences of being a jerk.
You know, I was looking for a deeper answer.
Obviously, I'm a failure. Obviously, I'm inept.
You are awesome. Keep up the good fight, my friend.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
Steve Clark, the announcer man, is lying, but he isn't doing it intentionally. I'm not in the studios of Living Bread Radio in Canton, Ohio. I'm in the studios of the Station of the Cross here in Buffalo, New York. Wonderful network, because they have been, as last night and tonight, our partners in our taping of Living Right with Dr. Ray, the first 4 episodes of season number 15. Season number 14 will begin right after Labor Day. New episodes. So those of you who send me emails and say, why are we going to get something new? I'm getting tired of watching you say it again, Dr. Ray. Actually, we don't have anybody say that because they usually watch me once and then that's it. They've had enough. But that said, thank you to all the folks who showed up last night. Father Larry Richards was there for both shows. Wonderful guest, Gary Hebert. He is a man who is way up at the pinnacle of hockey, professional hockey, Olympic hockey, the best of the best. And he teaches them, and he trains them, and he interpolates his Catholic faith with all of it. So he was there last night. So tonight, we're doing it again. The PBS station, well, they don't call it PBS anymore. They got a new name. Toronto, I don't know, but it's WNED. WNED. And we will be there tonight. So if you'd like to be in the audience, I know we've had sign-ups because we want to know that, in fact, the number of people we're going to have. And we will feed you in between. And they had some nice stuff there last night. A lot of stuff. Good snacks and drinks and pizza and everything. So if you got a bunch of kids, you'll make your money's worth for sure. If you'd like to be in the audience, just show up. We have 5 o'clock and the 7:15 show, I believe it is, 5 and 7:15. Delighted to have you. The more people, the better. The audience is the energy of the program. So love to have you there. Thanking you to all the people last night, and hope to see some of you again tonight. Had a good time. You folks made it happen with all of the ways that you interacted in the program. All right, that's it. Number here. 877-573-7825. 877-57 equal. Question about the stuff of life. People, places, persons, things, goldfish, aunts, uncles, second cousins once removed, circumstances, stuff that perplexes you, stuff that doesn't perplex you, stuff you don't care about, you're thinking I should care about it. Stuff you're tempted to overlook and you're thinking, maybe I better not, or maybe you're looking at it too much. It's causing you anxiety or some kind of grief or something like that. We'll see what we can do. I'm a shrink. That's what I do professionally. So here we don't do therapy. That's not going to happen. And I don't diagnose and I don't step in another therapist's turf at all. But I can give a few ideas, a few nuggets, your options, lay out pros and cons, maybe educate a bit. You'll call, you'll get Eric Dumont. My producer man is Andrew Kruchek. He's there managing all the lights and the flashing buttons. He doesn't get them to go in order, and I've asked him, get them to go in order. They just kind of flash at random. 877-57 equal is the number to call to get onto the program, and very much would like to talk to you. Before coming to Catholic radio, I did essentially 2 things. One was private practice and consulting. That's what I did. I saw people, and I consulted the agencies, or drug agencies, or psychiatric centers, or juvenile courts, or schools. And then the other thing I did was a growing speaking circuit. Did a lot of speaking in those early days, maybe 100, 125 times a year. Lately, the speaking, last, say, 10, 15 years, has got me traveling around a bit. The old days was maybe a 3-state area, and I go in, come out, go in, come out. But going around the country, typically, and a lot of Catholics do their events on weekends, I find myself in different parishes, gone to Mass during the conference or before I come home. And I've noticed a phenomenon that is general to the congregation. Was it this past weekend? Yeah, I was sitting in the pew, kind of toward the middle of the pew, and there was a woman that was in front of me on the end of the pew. And another lady came up to the pew and was obviously looking to get in, and there was just a whole bunch of room in the middle of the pew there. Nobody was sitting there at all. And the lady looked at her and let her pass so she would keep her end seat. I've noticed this. I would say that, I'm not going to say I've never seen it, but it is so rare that anybody sitting at the end of the pew, when someone comes to their pew and wants to get in, will slide down. Rare. They'll either let them pass or they'll get out and let them get in and then resume their end seat. Now, what is it about the end seat? I talked about this probably a couple of years ago on this program. You remember? Remember, it was a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday about 1:12. Remember that? And I got a lot of email. The email was, well, Dr. Ray, wait a minute. There's reasons. I can see better from there. Or if I have to go to the bathroom, I can get out. I don't have to climb over people. Okay, I thought about that. And the bathroom part of it, I'm thinking, I would say that when I go to Mass, it is quite unusual, unless you got little kids, that you take somebody to the bathroom, including yourself. I don't see anybody in the end of the pews get up and go to the bathroom. They don't. What is it about ownership of the end seat? I just completed a manuscript on anxiety. And I threw out as one possible explanation, maybe not even the main one, but one, is that there's something about sitting too close to people. Because keep in mind, if you're on the end, obviously one side of you is free. You're near the aisle. So there's nobody on your right side or your left side, depending upon where you're sitting. But if you scoot down toward the middle and it gets kind of crowded, you got people on both sides of you. I would say a fair minority of folks, maybe a majority, don't like that. That's uncomfortable. There's a sense of my space being invaded. Ooh, too close, too close. And, of course, I don't know how much COVID exaggerated all that. Well, I shouldn't say that. Not COVID. The response to COVID exaggerated all that because, of course, people are now somewhat more aware of germs, where they weren't really all that aware of germs before, but now you got some hypervigilance to those invisible little things. And I wondered why this is. What is it about the human psyche that clings to those end seats? Now, I deliberately, when I get there, I'll sit down and I'll take the end seat. But if anybody comes, I'll slide down. And I'll do it on purpose because that's what I should do. I should slide down. Now, you're thinking, Dr. Ray, shouldn't you be praying? Shouldn't you be kneeling there and have your eyes closed? Yeah. But when I'm done praying, and I sit there, sit back down, and you see people coming in, especially if you get there a little early, because then, between about 2 minutes till Mass starting and Mass starting, you get a whole bunch of people coming in. As I said, I look, and I don't sit there and say, okay, let me do an informal survey of all the people sitting in the end. No, just you see people coming in, and they're getting ready to go into the pew, and virtually nobody slides down. Maybe they do if it's a relative or a kid that is their grandkid or their own kid. Maybe they'll slide down. Other than that, it doesn't happen. So I guess, okay, we're going to take your calls here, but if anybody has an explanation for this beyond my wild speculations, give me a call. I want to hear this. Because I know a lot of you who are regular Mass goers, you sit on the end. Especially if you get there early so you can get that end seat. And Lord help the people who come only at Christmas and Easter. Who get there before you. Take that seat. Look out. Well, all right, wait a minute. I got one more thing. Well, it's 1:12. Okay. I was going to make a comment about the percentage of leaving Mass when you go through 4 verses of the recessional hymn. I was teasing our music director. He usually plays all the verses of the song. And some of the songs are short, and so you get people staying all the way to the end. But if you get a reasonably lengthy recessional hymn, I'll tell him, I'll say, Dennis, you go get a lot of people who are going to give you 2 verses. They won't go anywhere. They certainly won't. Well, only a few intrepid souls will split before the priest goes down the aisle. But once the priest goes down the aisle, Dennis, you get to verse number 3, and you're going to lose about 10 to 15%. You go to verse number 4, and the Exodus begins. You're only allowed so many recessional hymn verses. I noticed that. I teased my wife the other day. I said, watch. Watch this. If he plays that 4th verse, we're going to get 20 to 25% of the people start moving out already. And by time he gets to the middle of the 4th verse, look out, look out. Somebody could stomp on you when they're heading their way out. Just interesting Mass dynamics. 877-573-7825. Please help me out here. I do need your explanation. If you're an in-seater or if you've observed the same thing that I have, give me your perception of this, if you will. And plus, you can also call with situational matters in your own life. 877-57-EQUAL. That's the number to call to get onto the program. Thanks for joining me.
I don't think we've replaced our siding since we moved in 20 years ago. But I'm sure it's still fine, right?
We better call Mighty Dog Roofing of Ann Arbor.
Damaged siding can cause mold buildup and weaken your home structure. Protect your family by calling local Catholics Dan and Mary Flanagan at Mighty Dog Roofing for a free inspection of your siding, roof, or windows. Mighty Dog Roofing, 734-224-4916. That's 734-224-4916.
Throughout my faith journey, I have been given great advice. I've read or heard about ways to pray, especially when we're struggling with our own issues and vices. When I was younger, my father used to always tell me to pray for those who have hurt me. Today, I offer my Eucharist to those who have offended me or angered me. I also pray for people who struggle in similar ways that I do. This is one of my favorite prayer suggestions, and this is how it works. If you're someone with anger issues, pray for others who have anger issues, even those who might be angry with you. If you're a jealous person, pray for someone who's also jealous, even more jealous than you. And if you're someone who tends to gossip, pray for gossipers. See, we're not alone. We all have vices, and it's through prayer we can turn them into virtues. This has been a Christ-Centered Communication message. I'm Vanessa Den-Hagarmo, a communications evangelist and host of Epiphany.
Hi, everybody. Dr. Ray Guarendi, host of The Doctor is In. Ave Maria Radio has been putting out fabulous Catholic teaching, but the equipment we've got is aged. Like me, needs a lot of help. Some of the stuff is just hard to replace anymore. If you go to AveMariaRadio.net, please, for a donation for the equipment to reach much farther. You're not just donating, you're broadcasting hope. We have 9 lines on this program. My producer man, Andrew Kruchek, just informed me that immediately all 9 lines lit up. So everybody's calling with an explanation. So I'll give you folks a chance. We'll get to all of you. But a young lady is on line 1. She called right shortly after the show began. And she's having a little unsettlement in her relationship with her boyfriend. Hi there, young lady. Thanks for the call.
Hey, thank you. I'll just be really quick. So we met. He is in Texas. I'm in North Dakota. We met on Catholic Match. Start talking in February of this year consistently for several hours at a time. When we met together in May, we really hit it off. And we've been meeting like once a month since then. But there's some things I found out. So he had a year-long relationship with his ex that was officially kind of cut off January of this year. Cut off with the relationship with his ex in January, started talking to me in February, and he was still texting his ex as we were talking exclusively. Furthermore, I found out he
you weren't talking exclusively then,
with his
my
ex.
dear. Wait, you weren't talking exclusively
not.
Then. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
And I had no idea. He didn't tell me.
How'd you find out?
And I asked him. And because I guess as we grew to know each other, we became more open and honest. And he told me how physically intimate they both were. And it crossed many lines that I wasn't comfortable with. And now I'll preface, our relationship right now in this present moment is fantastic. But I have a really hard time accepting this past, and I just don't know what to do from here. Because I really, we want to get married, but I'm just so confuddled. What are your thoughts?
Well, if he is saying, and one of the attraction for you is that he's a faithful Catholic young man, but he's already had physical relations with the previous girlfriend, right?
Still had physical relations, yes.
Yeah. So how do you dovetail that with him being a faithful Catholic young man?
Well, I think, sometimes RCIA is good in some areas, not so good in others. And
you think that he wouldn't know that would be wrong?
Well, he went really far, but not all the way.
So he's telling you everything, huh? Or sort of, or at least you think he's telling you everything.
Oh, I know he told me everything.
Okay, well, you have no way to verify that, so you're taking him at his word.
Yeah.
Did he give you an explanation as to why he was still texting his ex-girlfriend?
He said that he was at a very confused point in his life.
So you figure he stopped doing that now?
He did stop doing that now, yes.
Oh. Or so he says.
I know he did.
Okay. Well, then, if you're convinced, and he's been straight with you, if you're convinced that he's grown in his faith and he recognizes the premarital relations was not a good thing, and he plans fully to stay chaste with you until you guys get married, if you're convinced of that, then you're stepping out in faith. That's what you're doing. So if you're asking me, should you take a break from him, I can't answer you. Because it's all going to come down to how much more time you think you need to really get to know this guy.
I guess my whole thing is that within myself, I feel a lot of sadness, grief, because it kind of, I feel like I have to compromise, because I know it's really unlikely that the likelihood of people being virgins before marriage is low, but that's something I really, really wanted.
I know. And I think you're absolutely right. It's very, very low. Very low.
Should I compromise? Should I compromise on that, though?
Well, I think it comes down to where you think he is now and in the future.
So that's kind of what I want to get at, because January is not that far away.
Well, you don't know him. And the reason I say this is because I don't care how much you talk on the phone. You don't have day-to-day contact with this guy. So that stretches out this whole courtship process, because you're living 7 states away from each other, or 6 states away if I got my middle U.S. geography right. So because of that, your whole contact, 92.97% of your contact is over phone or over a computer or over texting. So, given that, you really only know you don't see him in action with people. You don't see him in action with his parents. You don't see him in action with all kinds of stuff. You don't spend time with him. You don't see how he treats servers at a restaurant. You don't do any of this. So that's where I think caution comes in.
For me, the caution also comes, do you feel like it's too soon for him to, like, officially break up with his ex and then talk to me? For, like, a year-long relationship, and he just, like, I guess stopped seeing her in January, but, like, still continued to text her up until May of this year.
Well, it may be that he didn't want to break up.
He said that it would have broken up sooner or later. I just don't know why. Anyways.
I guess.
I just also don't want to bring it up because I was guilting him, too.
Here's what I'd say to you. You can't, well, you can, but you're less likely to make a mistake in this relationship, pursuing it, if you take your time.
Yes.
You're more likely to act precipitously if you say, okay, well, I think we know each other pretty well because we talk all the time. So I think that's what you're facing, my dear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the call. Good luck. God bless you. Okay, I'm going to get rid of all... I'm going to get... Oh, boy, I'll tell you, all kinds of reasons. Now, a lot of them, by the way, and I'll get to that in a second, a lot of them are, by the way, saying, look, I got a legitimate reason for sitting on the end, Dr. Roy Ganudi. Marla from Indiana called, and she says, everybody at my church scoots over. So come to Du Bois County and visit us. Cool. And then Vicky says, I don't know about the percentages of this, Vicky. I'd have to think about that. But you're probably right. It's easier to do that. Sitting on the end makes it easier to duck out after communion. That is true. I mean, you're disruptive. You start climbing over people right after communion. That is a good point. All right, let's get to one. Let's see. Okay, Dale from San Antonio, Guadalupe. He says people like sitting on the end because they like sitting where they sit. Well, okay, I'm going to have Dale put some flesh around that. Hi, Dale. Hello, Dale. Is he gone there? Is he in? Is Dale gone? Line 2? Should be there. Dale, you there? He might have left. He might have left early. He was sitting on the end. He left early. Okay, Bonnie from Columbus, St. Gabriel Radio. She has her reasons why she thinks, one of the reasons anyway, people sit on the end. Okay, Bonnie, go ahead.
Hello, Dr. Ray. I am a first-time caller.
I had to bring up, you had no personal issues all this time, and I had to bring up, Bonnie, I want your opinion. And you go, well, I can give my opinion.
It just got me human. Okay. Personally, I am in some ministries at my church, and often when I'm like the EOM that gives communion, I sit on the end so that I don't have to climb over a whole bunch of people during the Lamb of God song to get up to the altar to give communion. And then I'm also in a ministry that does homebound, and before the very end of the Mass, they call all the homebound ministers up to receive the picks to take communion to the nursing homes. And so it's much wiser to be on the end instead of crossing over all these people to get out to go up to the altar. And then I also have a friend that just had a knee replacement, and for her, it's much easier for her to sit on the end so she can extend her leg. And so those are the reasons that I just
okay. All right. That's a good one. That's a couple legit explanations. It certainly is only a small minority, certainly. But we'll get to that. Don't leave me. You got a lot of great comments up there. I want to get to all of them. This is Dr. Ray. Thanks for joining me. Don't let Teresa leave. My word there. All right, all kinds of explanations up there. Bonnie just he's not there anymore, and I understand it because there are times when I'm a lector at church and I sit on the end. Because, yes, you don't want to get up and climb all over people. That is true. But I am inclined to lean toward, and maybe this is because he's a colleague, David, who's a clinical psychotherapist, and there's a certain repetitive nature. David, thanks for the call.
Yes, I've come to the understanding that, in my view, based on my clinical judgment, Catholics are OCD and struggle with anxiety, and the Protestants are rebellious.
Well, that's a broad-based personality brush, huh?
Well, I'm going to do a DSM on all these different variations because I've been able to diagnose these issues.
Well, I do see a lot of what you say. I think yours is probably, for me anyway, the more likely of the explanations. There's a lot of reasons. That's true, and they're all up there, and I'm going to talk to them.
Yeah, if you listen to that Coming Home Network, all the people that transition are OCD.
Oh, that's interesting. I'd not picked up that theme, but I noticed.
Yeah, I'm doing the DSM on this.
Okay.
It's going to be my. And the other issue I want to bring up is. We need to be careful. If a person shifts from their seat, they could have bottom residue, like some seepage.
Well, I hadn't looked at it that way.
Yeah, they could be incontinent.
Well, I don't see that. I haven't seen that as too much of a problem. I wouldn't see that as a high level number one or number two explanation, if you will. David, thank you. Thank you for the observation. There is a couple of folks up there. Let's see. Teresa from Scranton, PA, which is the home of Dunder Mifflin, the paper company from the old sitcom series The Office. She says something that I speculated on in the anxiety book, and she's saying, yeah, Dr. Ray, that's my reason. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Dr. Ray. Thanks for taking my comment.
Sure.
I guess I have a different kind of situation. Mine's gotten worse over the years. I've been on the end for 30 years because I have 12 children. So as the kids got older and left, and then we actually had some room in the pew, I still tend to get. I always want to be on the end because now I feel claustrophobic, and now I'm getting sensitivities to the people's perfumes in front of me, behind me, so I can quickly get up and leave if I'm on the end. But if I get caught in the middle, boy, do I start to get anxiety. And like you said, I always got to be on the end because I always had the baby, and everybody just assumed, okay, mom has to be on the end so she can go out quickly. But now it's getting worse for me, and I am one of those endies, I guess you'd call it, and I like to keep my end.
You bring up a point in one of the chapters of my anxiety book. I call it Anxiety Guardians. And in your case, the anxiety guardians were your children. They allowed you to be comfortable in a certain situation. Anxiety guardians, whatever they might be, whether they're human, whether they're inanimate, whether they're a water bottle, whether they're a cell phone, whatever they are, they help dissipate some of the anxiety. In your case, the residual anxiety that you had in those early days, you don't have the protectors anymore. They're all grown and gone. So you're saying to yourself, yeah, I get down toward the middle there, I start to feel anxious. And then I'll bet, Teresa, that even if you were forced to the middle, one, you wouldn't trust how you're going to react. You'd say to yourself, uh-oh, what if I freak out? What if I freak out? Oh, it's going to be horrible, and I'll have to get out of here and climb over everybody, and I'll look like an idiot. I'll bet that's running through your head, isn't it?
Yeah, and in fact, it's like, okay, well, now I have my permanent, I don't remember what you call it, but my last one, the last in the caboose has Down syndrome. So I still get that reason, like, okay, well, I can be on the end because he might need to leave, in a heartbeat. And so I still don't sit in the front of the church. I'm still in the back pew, and I've been there for 30 years.
Well, my dear, you have touched upon one of the things that I speculated upon, and I was reluctant to do it in the anxiety book. I thought, there's a lot of reasons why people sit on the end, and most of the time it's just habit. I would say the main reason is habit. It's where I sit. It's kind of like the people who have the same seat week after week after week after week after week, and God help anybody who comes at Christmas or Easter who takes their seat unknowingly. I've seen people give them a dirty look. It's like, didn't you know that was my seat? So given that, you are confessing to a little bit of anxiety, and I kind of thought, I wonder how much anxiety is at the root for some people, not everybody, but for some people. And you confirmed that from an anecdotal perspective. Well, my dear, if at this point, if it makes you relax and you're okay there, be at peace.
Yeah, I think that David was wrong. I mean, if I'm not incontinent, I've got 12 kids. I mean, I don't think that's the reason. Sorry, I'm a registered nurse. I don't think it's because of incontinence, but it could be other reasons. This is only my reason. I don't know what the other people's reasons are.
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons, as it's coming clear with people calling in. But I do think, for me, I would say the top reason is repetitive habit. This is just where I sit. So I've always sit where I'm comfortable. I've been here for 18 years. I think that's very common. Also, I think there is more to it than people realize with what you said, which is I get uneasy in the middle. I don't like it, especially if it's crowded. Now, I felt very good about when we had the 10 kids with us. I never sat in the end because I had to sit somewhere in the middle because I at least could have one hand to grip each child's knee if I had to. But it was very difficult because we only had 2 adults and 10 kids, and we couldn't get down to the end. And the real danger was some of my kids were sitting on the end, and that wasn't good. But
yeah.
God bless you.
I have a funny story about that real quick.
Go ahead. Give it to me. Go on. Give it to me.
The one day, the one kid was all the way on the end, and my husband had given him extra money to put in the collection, and we also had a check. But we looked down, and then we saw him kind of like look around, and then we saw him put it in his pocket. So after Mass, my husband said to him, "Hey, why did you pocket that money I gave you for the collection?" And he goes, "Well, Dad, I heard Mom talking about how we had to save money."
I'll tell you what, the kid, you had him in a corner, he was bobbing and weaving, but he ducked out. Thanks, Teresa. This is Dr. Ray. More calls up there, and thank you for calling in. This is Dr. Ray. Well, I kicked a hornet's nest. Well, the end of the hornet's nest, anyway. So I just asked for people to offer me their observations on, and they all agree. They're not. Nobody has disputed what I said. They all said no. There are reasons for people sitting in the end and sitting there inveterately. They're not budging. All right. Now they vary. One of the more common ones is I'm an extraordinary minister, I'm a lector, so therefore it's easier for me just to get up and get out. And that personally is my situation too. When I lecture, my wife gets a seat on the end, and so we don't have to climb over everybody and we can easily get out. A couple of calls on I get anxious. I get ill at ease, especially if I get down in the middle there. And I got to believe there for some people it's a little bit of residual COVID Not COVID necessarily itself so much anymore, but the old germophobia that COVID sprung on some people. And so, yeah, the idea of being a little too close makes some people antsy, like it. One of them is physical incapacity. It's difficult, say, for example, if somebody's older or physically unable to easily move down the pew, sit on the end. Okay. Now, here's a question from Pete. He did not stay on the line. He just figured I'm going to ask the question. What was the end-seatered situation when you were a Protestant? Yeah, I was 8 years in an evangelical church, partly in United Methodist and partly evangelical. And in the evangelical church, we had chairs. So there's a little more independent ownership of chairs. So if you're sitting 6 chairs away from the aisle, you still got your own seat, as opposed to sharing a close-by pew. That's one. In the United Methodist, in fact, it was pews. I wasn't as attentive then to this situation. I do believe that probably it's a more Catholic phenomenon, and probably because regular Mass goers, people who every Sunday don't miss Mass. When I was in the Protestant world, you didn't have to be there. You could go. And for the most part, people were regular, kind of, sort of. And the same people were the regular people. But by and large, there was a certain amount of fluidity to attendance. All right. Now, Tristan has an interesting speculation on this, and I'm gonna have reservations about it. I want to hear what Tristan has to say from Fort Worth. Hi, Tristan.
Hey, Dr. Ray. Thanks for taking my call. I'm an admitted end sitter at times, and I think a possible valid reason could be if you are not taking communion, like let's say you're someone in OCIA or a Catholic not in the state of grace, sometimes it's easier if you can to just sit on the end so that all the people in your pew that are taking part don't have to climb over you.
Is that you?
That can be me, yeah, sometimes if I'm not in a state of grace.
Well, Tristan, I admire you because you know as well as I do, for communion, pretty much 99% of the church gets up, or maybe not 99, but well into the 90s percent, get up. And for you to say, no, I'm not in the proper state of grace. I'm not dispositioned right. I'm not gone. First of all, that takes social courage for you to sit there, because you got to figure some people are thinking, wonder what he did. And you can just tell them, I ate 32 minutes ago. That's what you tell them. Wear a sign. Wear a sign. I didn't commit a serious sin. I was eating, and I forgot. I went through a drive-thru on the way to church. But you're right. I think if that's the reason, if someone is in OCIA and if someone is saying, I can't go to communion, I think that's smart to sit on the end. But here's the thing, though. Do you sit on it when you can go to communion?
I will sit there, but I will move down if someone is approaching and I am taking communion. And so it's a bit of a habit as well, I will admit that.
Why do you move down? What makes you decide to move down sometimes and not move down other times?
I would move down if I'm taking it because I feel like it's a burden to everybody to step over me. So just to get in there in the middle. But if I'm not taking communion, I'll step out and kind of let them go through.
You know what you can do when you step out there, Tristan? You can just say, hey, I'm not taking communion. That's why I'm sitting on the end here. Okay? I ate. Well, Tristan, I admire you. I admire your whole view of this because, again, when I was a boy back in 1906, my dad represented a lot of the mindset at St. Anthony's Parish in Canton, Ohio, which was when he went to confession, he went to communion the next day, but he didn't go to confession or didn't go to communion any week after that he didn't go to confession. And if I recall correctly, it was not unusual at St. Anthony's Parish for maybe 50% of people to get up and go to communion. Maybe. Well, over the years, that percentage just has gone up and up and up and up and up. Now, again, I'm not in the position to say who's to receive, who isn't. That's way out of my bailiwick. But I find it fascinating that just pretty much it's now viewed that Eucharist is just a part of the Mass like the Our Father. And you just go. So
maybe we just made so much progress that everybody's in a state of grace at this point.
Well, you'd like to think that, wouldn't you? I would like to think that. I think there's definitely an explanation that we've gotten a little more squishy regarding sinfulness, regarding serious sin, and all of that. So, Tristan, God bless you, son. I think your heart is in the right place. Keep at it. All right, do I got to take a break here? Hold on. Let me see where I'm at. Yeah, I do. I got to take a break, then we'll get back, talk to you some more. This is Dr. Ray.
Welcome to Advanced Dentistry Center family. This is Dr. Metti, and our team strives to treat you like family in a loving and compassionate way as we focus on serving you in a Christ-like manner. We do this by emphasizing prevention and general well-being for a lifetime. Our private practice is small, personal, state-of-the-art, and innovative, with the goal to educate and motivate our patients in improving their oral health. It is through a partnership with you that you will achieve the goals for your smile. Advanced Dentistry is serious about the level of care we provide, with attention to details and an exceptional level of care, skill, and judgment. We are thrilled for the opportunity to serve you.
Dr. Matty and the team invite you to visit them at advanceddentistrycenter.com or call them at 248-594-9592. That's 248-594-9592. AdvancedDentistryCenter.com.
Hi, everybody. Dr. Ray Guarendi, host of The Doctor Is In, Ave Maria Radio for 20 years. I've been with them, and during that time I've watched them spread our precious faith to anyone, anywhere. Well, also in that time, their equipment, the equipment that they had is cutting edge, no longer is cutting edge. It's kind of like an iPhone 5. We need your help. We absolutely need your help. Visit AveMariaRadio.net. You're not just donating, you're broadcasting hope.
This program brought to you in part by Ave Maria, Florida, a big kind of small town where golf carts take you everywhere and there's always something fun around the corner. Discover championship golf, resort-style amenities, and a town center full of shopping and dining. With Ave Maria University and Ave Maria Catholic Church at its heart, it's a community full of connection and charm. More than 25 model homes are available for viewing. More information can be found at AveMaria.com. That's AveMaria.com.
Well, I don't know which kicked the hornet's nest more. End seating in church, or tattoos, or animals in heaven. Those are the three that everybody weighed in on. Well, they weighed in on diets too, but that's another thing. Let's go to Brendan from Cleveland, Tennessee. He says he's an extraordinary Eucharistic minister. Hi, Brendan.
Hi, Dr. Ray. Yeah, I'm a lector and extraordinary minister of Holy Communion, which you've already mentioned. But I would say the other thing is that my wife and I drive separately because my wife brings my father-in-law and our granddaughter to Mass, and I will usually get there ahead of them. So I will sit on the end just so I can hold some spots for them when they get there, which is usually about 10 minutes later. So it's kind of pragmatic. If I was not holding the seats for them, I would move in if someone came.
How do you do that, Brendan? Okay, let's say somebody comes and they want to sit in your pew, and there's 3 of them.
Yep.
You obviously let them in, right? You don't say these seats are saved.
No, I do, and there are other folks that do that too. I'll just say I've got three folks.
Oh, okay.
They'll say, okay.
Okay. All right, I got you. All right. Well, okay. So what we're seeing here is there are a cornucopia of individual reasons for people to occupy the end seats and not move. That's the difference. It's one thing to occupy them and move, like Tristan did, which is, I'll slide in, it doesn't matter to me, or to occupy them and not move. And it would seem, if I'm going to wrestle with the number one explanation out of everything everybody said, I'm going to have to say habit. Just simply raw habit. And the other one would be, I don't like the feeling of being closed in by people on either side. That'd be my guess. Brendan, thank you for the call, my friend. Cleveland, Tennessee. I thought when I first saw that Cleveland thing, I'm thinking, somebody near my hometown. Thanks, Brendan. Appreciate it, sir. Well, I got too much time here left. Yeah, I got a whole lot. Let's do a quick advertisement again for tonight. Here I am at the studios of the Station of the Cross. Wonderful network. Main flagship station here out of Buffalo, New York. Wonderful, wonderful bunch. Had heavy attendance last night. I don't know if that was me or Father Larry Richards. I tend to think it was Father Larry. I did a poll of the audience, an informal poll, and of the audience members, 96.27% were there for him, and I had 4 people there for me. So tonight, he's not there. So I'm hoping I can get more than 4. But we do have some people signed up. But if you'd like to stop in, WNED Studios, we got the show at 5, and then I think one at 7:15. Both shows over in about an hour 15. Got some fun things planned. We always do. The audience is such a critical part of the show. They ask questions. They clap when they're supposed to. They don't clap loud enough, in my opinion. But they do clap. And we got some great guests coming. We've got a family of 9, and we're going to talk a little bit about how the kids moved the family closer to our Lord. And then Father Tran is a very popular priest in this area. Once an inveterate atheist. He just flat out was in the sciences and said, nope. And we got to find out how God shook him up with a 2x4. See how that happened. So if you'd like to be there, we'd love to have you. And at this point, you don't have to sign up. We had people signing up at the stationofthecross.com, but now you head there. We got plenty of seats. We got extra seats. It's a big studio. It's a very nice studio too. And if you stay for the 2 shows, you know what? You don't even have to stay. If you're just hungry after the first show, or if you come before the second show early enough, go get some pizza, go get some snacks, go get something to drink, and I'll be sitting there just greeting the folks and having a very nice time. So that's the advertisement for that. We are creatures of habit. I mean, there is something about routine that we cling to. Whatever it is. It isn't, obviously, that's just one small indication of our need for routine. And as David, the psychotherapist, called, he said there's an OCD component, obsessive compulsive disorder. That's the official diagnosis. But most people are not clinically obsessive or compulsive. But I would say most of us lean toward routine, towards a certain regimentedness to our life. I suspect, I don't know, that has something to do with that's the way the universe operates. I mean, you want the sun to come up every day, don't you? As C.S. Lewis made the observation, he said, yeah, we want routine. We live by routine. We want predictability in much of what we do, whether it's our schedule. Yeah, you even got the health people saying, routine, Go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time. Routine. There is a certain healthiness to following routine, but sometimes locked into routine keeps you from experiencing some new stuff. I have to make myself break out of the routine when I go to Mass. I sit all over the place. I don't sit in the same place. Sometimes I'll go to the right, sometimes I'll go to the left, sometimes I'll look around, sometimes I just do it on purpose. For a lot of reasons. One of them is we're one body at Mass. And there's a certain amount of blending in anonymity to the group. And for me, that's one way I do it. Anyway, hope to see you tonight, WNED. Studios here, Station of the Cross, but see you tonight. 2 shows if you'd like to come. We'd love to have you. Concerned about the time? Go to the website, stationofthecross.com. They'll tell you the websites. They'll tell you the address, too. Thanks for joining me. Walk with God. Now, that's a routine. That's a routine you want to have.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.